Hey guys, how's it going, man? Let's start driving. I'm gonna take you down these scenic routes in Hong Kong. Meanwhile, I would like to talk to you about why being Asian today is 100 times, if not more, times better than when I was growing up. You see, I was growing up in not the most Asian dominant places, meaning it wasn't California, meaning it wasn't in LA, it wasn't in San Francisco. I wasn't in the very first tier city where, you know, obviously Asians would play a pretty good role over there. And if you're very dominating, it doesn't really matter what the media says, because it's pretty much your own world that you're kind of living, right? So overall, I lived in the East Coast, so it wasn't really like East Coast. I think a lot of conservative places too, where I think I lived in a place where there's a decent amount of Jewish population. It wasn't like a mix. They have some Jewish people, they have some obviously blacks, Hispanics, blah blah, you know. So, but Asians were not more than, you know, 3-4%, and it definitely wasn't a lot of like Cantonese speaking people there either. So yes, it was kind of bad. I think you only have a very limited amount of friends, because in a way my friends were mostly East Asians. It wasn't even like Indians. Like wasn't really good friends with any halfies. I mean, now looking back, I would like to have more half friends, you know what I'm saying? I think half Chinese people are pretty cool too. I think at the moment I was just very much into finding Chinese identity, right? So when I was growing up, I think that's what I identified myself as a East Asian, Chinese, or even Hong Konger, right? So that's the thing. Yeah, now we're in this area where there used to be a lot of mental hospitals. So like a lot of lunatics back then, but here. But now it's more like a hospice. So yeah, it's pretty it looks pretty much the same. Probably like 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's looked very much similar. It's not a lot has changed in these. This is not residential, so nothing changes. But anyways, going back to it, is that I think if you do approach any, I think back in the days, people just kind of like stayed in their own group after middle school. So after middle school, you don't really hang with Hispanics, you don't really hang with others, you just go to their own group. And I think it's okay. But I think sometimes I do feel a little more adventurous and would like to try the mainstream thing after I moved down south. Now, people in the South, they all treated me pretty nicely, surprisingly. Maybe it's because of a fair skin compared to others, or they're just really nice. I have no idea, but I'm not here to speculate. I just only can say I have a good time. I have a great time, actually, in fact, in the South. But when it comes to dating, I don't think it was like very smooth. this, you see, there are so many folks that seems interested in me, and then later at the last second, they just ghosted me, or like they just make up some excuse. They said they can't come out or something like that. So I have no idea. But back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think Asians or like East Asian males are still very frowned upon. No matter how good looking you are, it's just kind of weird. I think unless you're like Keanu Reeves, who's not a real, how to say this, like very, he is Asian, but like he's not very obvious Asian. Even Zach Morris is, he's Asian as well, but he's not 100%. Unless you like that, then it's I guess it's fine. But I think South Carolina and Georgia is not exactly the best places for Asians back then. And yeah, I mean, it could really mess a person's mind up if you're growing up in these places. But I mean, I came to the South really late, and I really appreciated the South much more because the costs of living up in the Northeast were too big, too high, too big, too cold. Just many things that just makes me very worried about many things. And on top of that, and then finding a good university over there without costing you an arm or a leg, it's pretty tough. So at that moment, I choose like the South as actually the best choice. And I enjoy having big spaces, you know, lots of golf driving ranges, lots of tennis stuff, lots of just outdoor things. I enjoy it. I enjoy running around. I think like my health was great, fantastic, you know. But however, you know, there's definitely not able to find really good, you know, partnerships or good, you know, companionship, right? I think not just for women, but for finding good friends is pretty tough. Now, I think like after 2004 and 5, things are changing. And I remember there were people that asked me if they want me to join their fraternity in another graduate school that I was at. But I said like, I'm not a freshman anymore. So I guess I was kind of looking a lot already older. I mean, sorry, a lot. I still look fairly young. But I think it's mature enough. I think people find me like kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. And yeah, it was always like, seems like everybody else have their own world going on, but for me it just seems like I'm doing my own thing. So that's the feeling that I feel all the time. And but while I was in college, it was kind of weird. There were a lot of women that always like to kind of mess around with me. It's like, hey Mike, hey blah blah, you know. And then but you know, at the end of the day, I think there was like a girl that was decently attractive when she was a freshman, but obviously didn't take care of herself really well. But even by that time, she still doesn't want to go out with me. Just kind of treated like Asian as in like a thing that you would probably look at and nothing that you want to buy. But it makes sense sometimes. For example, you might want to look at an Alfa Romeo, but doesn't mean you want to buy it. I mean, but I think dating, I think at that time, it's kind of equal to, not equal to, but there's a very higher likelihood of marriage. I think people take marriage and dating a lot less serious, which is, I think, one of the reasons why a lot more people are willing to talk to Asians today, because they give it a shot, because they're coming from a broken home anyways. What's the point of it? Like, even if you try really hard, it's still gonna end up the same way. Maybe just give it a different type of go, right? So that's what I think about most people feel nowadays, is that they also have lowered the standard of, or an expectation of having a fairy tale of happily ever after. I don't think people ever say this word anymore, not even in kindergarten, right? So in this way, it's good. I think overall Asian men consistently are pretty decent men overall. I'm not saying other men are not good, but East Asian men are definitely, not all of them, but like a lot of them don't necessarily run away, you know. They would take some responsibilities, definitely, for sure. But when they're willing to work, I mean, you don't see that many unemployed East Asian men. So that's the thing. Anyways, yeah, we're passing by like another next to the seaside, so it's pretty cool. I think a lot of women, definitely, I think just treated me as if there's some kind of, you know, thing out there that they don't want to see. They don't want to touch, but they like to see it. They're very curious, and that's the key word, is that a lot of women were very curious. And what is that all about? Is that like, you know, it's an exotic culture? How does Asia really look like? Is it everybody just like bows each other and like has to 100% respect their parents? You know, these type of stereotypes. And everybody just only study and never have fun. And yes, definitely is not like that. There are definitely a lot of nice looking nightclubs, yeah, drinking places. They're bad boys, you know, they're Asian bad boys. It's not 100% all just goody, you know, like quote unquote boys. And not even that many are Christian. I'm sorry, not that many are Buddhist. I think a lot of women ask me, are you like a Buddhist or something? I think we might have some Buddhist philosophy, but definitely not Buddhist. I think a lot of people actually don't understand the essence of Buddhism. Most Buddhists don't even understand the essence of Buddhism. So that's tough. But I think, yeah, so everything was I think especially like white. I think by the time of 2006, 2007, there are definitely a good amount of people out there. They're looking for the Arab type of guys, or there's, you know, I think like by that time I think I met a group, a gang, basically. They'll, you know, it consists of white and black and just some other stuff, but mostly white girls, right? Office girls. So when it was back in 2006, 2007, I met them, and yeah, I think a lot of them have like these curiosity of dating men that are not white. I think white is still their primary choice, but they want to try like maybe darker guys or guys with different color. I think one of the white girls, she was very, very interested in in one of our Arab friends, but it wasn't the white girl that rejected him. Is that they were kind of going out for a little bit, and then he just decided to just leave. Just one day just decided to leave, right? So like he opened the car door, basically. That's what I heard. Is like he opened the car door and just walked off and say like, I gotta go. And he didn't want to talk to her anymore, but like of course they still see each other in the city, just say hi, but like nothing more. Obviously he's an Arab, he's a Muslim. Maybe he only can date Muslim. Maybe that's the way he feels. Nobody ever knew why, but I can understand that. I mean, coming from a more traditional family like mine, I would probably, I wouldn't say I do the same, but I'm probably gonna play along with it for a good while until until she wants to get married or something like that. I don't know if like I could marry a person that's not my race back in the days. Actually, it probably, I cannot blame others when I cannot do the same. Do you know what I mean? I cannot quote unquote, I didn't feel like I could have a interracial marriage. I didn't have the capability either back then, literally. And so you can't blame other women for not give it at all if you're not 100% committed, isn't it? You say like, yo, I was just gonna play around, that doesn't sound very assuring. But I think by the time I think like 2015, 2016, around there, I'll have a little bit more free time and come back to the US just for vacation. I see like this real different attitude overall about I think white men towards me, white women towards me. I mean, they could be mixed, they could be mixed white, but overall, I think by that time, also I think the Chinese economy has gotten better. They are moving toward like a first world type of living, at least in certain parts of China. And there are certain Chinese companies that make some pretty good stuff. No longer just a pure sweatshop that makes little plastic toys. And I think that's where also, like, I think BTS got popular and Gangnam Style. Just a fluke of things. Basically, the internet boom made everybody interested in East Asian culture, because it is a media-rich place. I wouldn't say it's called a culturally rich place. I mean, that's debatable, but definitely media-rich. Lots of medias every single day is produced by the Chinese, the Thai, the Japanese, the Koreans. You got the Japanese. You got the Japanese J-pop, but I think even more popular for the anime and the video games. The Koreans definitely got their phones, and obviously K-pop, Gangnam Style and stuff like that. And Chinese is a little bit less out there until the TikTok has gotten a good foothold of American population. because by that time, when TikTok has came to America, they started getting a lot more Chinese content, so they kind of understand a little bit more, or at least more curious about China overall. And obviously a lot of foreigners always like Thailand. Thailand's it's definitely one of the best places to visit in the world. Cheap, it's pretty cheap to be there and to go there, and overall the people are nice, the food is good. It's pretty much almost like heaven on earth, except for the flooding and some other diseases that you might contract from it if you're not careful. So yeah, go look it up. Yeah, but I think definitely like I think if you're an adult and you make a decent living, I think definitely Asia is the place to be, man. It is. I think you don't want to be in America if you want to. But if you want to be in America, there's also a perk, which is you pretty much just don't have to leave your house ever. Kind of the thing. America is designed for very lazy people, for sure. Amazon would deliver it to your doorstep, and you could get a lot of food to just deliver it to your door. It is the cool thing. Yeah, I mean, by this time, it's just, I think that a lot of women overall, they are interested in East Asian men. Not particular that they're looking for it, but they definitely wouldn't reject it. I mean, if you know what you're doing, if you make a decent amount of money, if you're mature, if you're not too short, if you are decently built, hey man, I don't really see that you're gonna get zero play. I just think it's not possible unless you're not trying at all, or you have a unrealistic expectation where you're gonna be consistently getting 9 and 9.5, like 9.5 out of 10, like white women. That's gonna be really tough. Like you think Ivana Trump is gonna be interested in you? Personally, I think I might be an attractive guy, but I don't think Ivana Trump would even take a 2-second look of me, because I'm just not at that class yet, quite honestly. And that's at least I know where my limits are. I think if you know where your limits are and you give it your best shot, I really don't see that you can definitely score some really high-end stuff like nowadays in the US. But you gotta be a good conversationalist. You gotta be a good conversationalist, man. You gotta agree. That's the thing about it when you're an Asian. You might feel self-conscious about yourself sometimes. You should never do that. You should always go with it as like, yeah, that's cool. I like it. Wow, that's not bad. Just agree. Both women and men, they love listeners, because they got something to tell you, and they want to share with somebody, and they want to be criticized all the time. Just because you're criticizing someone doesn't mean they're going to get better tomorrow. It's most likely not going to happen. Yeah, so this is the drive, man. It's pretty decently smooth today. It wasn't too bad. We just went from west to east on the island. And today is a ugly day, but it's still pretty cool. place. It really is. I mean, there is a lot of variety because when you are in America, this is the thing. This is one of the reasons why I had to leave. One of the reasons is because you might be on the highway and every single scenery is the same for the past like 100 miles, 200 miles, even 300-400 miles. And it's the same cars all the time, it's the same type of people. I gotta get out. As you can see here, there are all types of cars, all types of people, all types of scenery. There's the mountain, there's the sea, there are these high-rise buildings. There's the old, there's the new stuff. And that's what I like. That's what I like. However, it doesn't mean I would never go back to the US. I do think like US still has a lot of good things going on. It really is. And I think overall, despite despite whoever is going to be the president next, I don't think it's going to affect that much about Asians. I think Asians are just continuing to be, like especially East Asians, continues to be more established, continues to have lots of their own media, and people are just more and more curious about Asian nowadays than any other I think than even a lot of times Europeans, because I think a lot of Americans they might want to go to Europe, and by the time they get there they realize everything is really expensive and they can't afford to do anything. On top of that, they get robbed. Compared to here is that the ticket might cost a little bit more expensive, but you get a lot more bang for your buck, and we don't rob you like nowhere else often. And yeah, the hospitality here overall is pretty good. I mean, it's just, you're not gonna get bed bugs, that's for sure. I mean, like France and England, they were getting a lot of bed bugs, pretty nasty, if you ask me. I mean, most places in East Asia is definitely pretty darn clean, man. Pretty darn clean, pretty nice, man. That's all I could say, dude. So, yeah, I mean, if you're an Asian guy, you think you're stuck in the US, come take a trip to Asia, man. How expensive could it be? Make sure you just get all your visas, everything done early ahead of time. Get all your inoculations, vaccinations, whatever you're going to call it, like vaccinations. Then come have a great time here, man. And make sure whatever you do, wear a hat. Because you don't know for sure. It's you know, you might not be very familiar with the local customs. And you know what? Go with the flow. When you're here, follow what people do, man. If everybody like go there, most likely it's not going to be too bad. So don't try to stand out and try to be too unique over here. You're already unique enough. And I think people would really treat you nicely, because to tell you the truth, like in East Asia, we defaultly treat people with a foreign skin like better, literally. So yeah, man. I mean, it really is cool, man. I mean, you should never try to complain. I think a lot of people complain. I've seen some white guys that complain about living in Asia. I was like, dude, you have the disposable of basically everything. Like, you know, you could get off a traffic ticket, you could, you know, people are extra nice to you. I mean, every once in a while somebody will try to rip you off, But yeah, man, like you're getting mad play, you're getting mad women. Yeah, compared to how many women you could get in back home is it's ridiculous, man. And they could get some easy job like teaching English or something like that. I don't really know what you're complaining about. They pretty much just worship you by default. Now, can you gain mad respect from people? Probably not quite yet, but hey man, if you learn the local languages, yeah, of course, sure. But that's about it, man. Hey, that's all for today. I'm done. Signing off.